negativity around things, especially things that really suck, or things that are really great and you would like to never change, or around who I think I'm supposed to be. And then when that's challenged, my terror and panic around that. And that's going to come, that's going to arise. But to develop spaciousness around our feelings and just be present to them. So, yeah, feeling your feels, 100%. Like wide open. I want to make sure Corinne is wide open. Just, oh, who's here now? Who's this? What's this? Pain? I guess I'm hurting over this, and why? I'm disappointed. And and really take some time. Your feelings are arising to be known by you. Known and loved and integrated. Like for me, the picture in my head is like little child Franzes with their feels, and I'm grown-up Franz. And I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, no, hey, yeah, it's pat, pat, pat. Oh yeah, teaching yourself how to feel your feelings. And everybody's feelings are so unique and so utterly them. And just even, it's funny, the things that people have said stuck with them from my class are never the things I think. It's always like some offhanded remark. And somebody, this wonderful older lady, she may not even be on the planet anymore, but she was in tears and she said, no one has ever told me that my feelings were precious. And I was like, what a total missed opportunity from that woman's parents. Like, just even starting with that fundamental proposition, your human experience is precious, infinitely precious. Your feelings, anything that arises within this is precious. And you are the safe container for whatever arises in your life. Your heart is the safe container. So even just starting with that, and then like Ajahn Chah says, you just pull up a chair. Okay, who's coming to visit? And giving yourself that space. And I'm not smart enough. He wasn't smart enough to tell people how to feel their feels. That's your job. So everybody gets to, but there's some basic guidelines. Don't throat punch people when you're mad. Don't act unskillfully. So Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh is the kind of master of this kind of material. Like, put your arm around your feelings and really take the time. There's so much deep wisdom. Feelings, even biologically speaking, are an ancient mechanism within within the human animal. They predate a lot of our neural architecture. They're very old, and they start in the body. There's a lot of wisdom there. And just learning how to really give them the importance that they deserve. So much of our culture and even our religious traditions, if misapplied, involve, your job is to repress your feelings and don't feel those things that you don't like or that are sticky or that are hard or hot or whatever it is. Don't feel those things. That's no solution. Might as well check into a cemetery. And then also, Dave makes the great point. So this is about a monk who's like sick of meditating in the monastery. And there's all these knucklehead monks with their coughing and they're moving around and they're jerks and don't they know? So he gets the bright idea to go sit in a boat tied to a dock at dawn. And he closes his eyes and it's just the gentle sway of the boat and the breeze. And he's like, oh, I'm really doing it now. And then boat bumps him. And he this jerk doesn't even know who I am. I'm trying to meditate. And finally he can't. He spins around on his empty boat. Nobody home. This is like feelings sometimes just arise. That's the other thing too. They're not personal. This is something I wanted to go into more on Saturday. But your feelings are incredibly precious and incredibly personal. And guess what, y'all? You're not the first person in history to feel angry or sad or betrayed. And that I'm so glad that this is a thing that's becoming prevalent in our culture now, that people understand that when someone tells you to go to hell, even if it's someone very near and dear to you, apparently, it's not personal. They're telling you about where they're at. They're telling you how they're feeling right then. And it literally is not personal. So the ability to be like, oh, this feeling that I'm having also isn't personal. This is nature. This is like, it's just like your big toe. It's just like a burp. It's just like, oh, I'm having anger right now. And the stock answer for any meditation teacher is, that's why we sit, is to raise our baseline trait level of mindfulness, so that we're more mindful generally in our whole life, so that we don't get caught, we don't get surprised. And then we develop the ability to get real, and sitting, hopefully, one begins to develop the kind of neural groove of getting curious whenever something spikes. So, very often we are at the mercy of these feelings that come quickly, or these kind of impressions that come. But if you, this is the benefit of daily practice, of ongoing practice, is your baseline mindful awareness is higher over time. So when something does spike, you're able to be curious, and you turn the light of awareness on it. Oh, what's this? And that's usually, our emotional states are usually, we don't know about them till we're in them, till we are inhabiting them. I mean, if I had the neural, I wish I had a neural map where the feeling comes and your fist is, this is my wife tells the story of a Monopoly match that ended horribly with cousins when she was little. And she remembers just turning white hot and watching her own fist sail through the air. Because what happens is the brainstem and amygdala get this whole plan of action together, and then there's like a 1/9 of a second between this whole thing swinging in, and then it sends it to the forebrain, to the prefrontal cortex. Hey, we're gonna punch our cousin, right? We're good? And you have to catch it. If you're lucky, you can catch it. So just, this is like the commercial for practicing a lot, and also for just starting to develop that curiosity. Not suppress it, but like get curious. Whenever emotions do spike, develop that neural loop where you're like, oh, who's this? What's going on here? And just over time, that kind of thing. And then if you are at the mercy of something like that, like a traumatic, like a car wreck or a traumatic injury or something, when it does arise, training yourself how to hold it in the body in a gentle and tender way, especially, there's nothing like vagus nerve breathing for that kind of thing. Deep belly breaths like you're 5 years old, and slow exhales like you're blowing up a balloon. Very powerful for that. Great question. And you don't even know where your thoughts come from. You certainly don't choose your thoughts. You don't choose your feelings. Like, to me, this more is a question around non-self, and just recognizing that there is responsibility, there is culpability. We are all heirs to our actions, thoughts, and words. But like, practically speaking, the number of knuckle-headed things I think in a day is astronomically high. But I don't need to fight them. Where are they? I don't need to do them. I don't need to, you are under no obligation to believe what you think. And there's, if you are practically guiding yourself to live a skillful life of, what is the next wise, kind thing I can do? What is the next skillful thing I can do? Then it doesn't really matter necessarily. And sometimes, we have a model of life that our thoughts then become enacted in the world. so I better have good thoughts so I can enact them in the world. But actually, it's a feedback loop. So doing good, doing skillfully, doing kindly, you can begin to develop a taste for that. And so sometimes it's like the reverse. So like, even when I was really angry at that guy for yelling at me, and I gave him $5 and he instantly, his whole countenance changed. Oh, this was such a powerful lesson for me. There was this unhoused dude who was maybe having a mental health issue, and I was just getting in my car, and I was looking at him just because he was the most interesting thing in my field of vision, and I was unlocking my car, and he looks at me, and he starts and he's like 20 feet away, he's like hollering at me all this like random profanity-laden stuff, and at the end he's like, "Go home to your wife with your stupid-ass haircut." And it caught me off guard, and I started laughing. And I'm like roaring with laughter, which in retrospect was not totally skillful, because he was pissed. He was like, he did not like that. He thought that was his big finishing move. He was like, "Oh, I'll show this guy with your stupid-ass haircut." And I'm like, just, and he goes white hot with rage. And now he's really pissed, and I'm like unlocking my door. And I get in there, and I literally had a thought that I was gonna like flip him off or scream something at him out the window or do some kind of shitty thing. And I was like, wow, really? I was like, what you should do is give him $10. He obviously hasn't eaten today. And I was like, that's dumb, I don't feel like giving him $10. I was like, yeah, that's nice. We don't direct our skillful discipleship of the Buddha by how you happen to feel that afternoon. You do what's right and what's kind every time. So I pulled up and rolled down the window, and he thought I was gonna give him the what for. So he starts hollering, and I hold out a 10, and he like instantly, his whole being, he's like, "Oh, is that for me?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Hey man, I'm so sorry. I've had such a shitty day, and everyone's always fucking with me, and I just thought," and I'm like, "Hey, it's here, get some food, dude." And he was like, his face was beautiful. Like his whole being changed from that act of kindness. And I started to feel like it, and it wasn't the first thing on my list to do or say. So that was an instance when I did it in reverse, where I had all kinds of shitty thoughts, and I'm like, that's cute, I don't do that kind of stuff, at least not while people are watching, or while I'm thinking about it, and I did the opposite, and it worked out really nicely for me. So I don't know about non-attachment, but just I want to invite you to reflect that you are not your thoughts, and you are the architect of your actions. You are the farmer of your life, and what you do grows that. And you can choose to do what is wise and kind and skillful again and again, and enjoy the joy that comes from that.